Welcome back to our color wheel setup, our color wheel skeleton videos. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Just want to review real quick of what we're doing. So our job today is to move on to the next step of our labeling process in our color wheel. As you can see, I have my wheel outlined. I have my reflected and rotated design. Only halfway done. Still haven't finished it up yet, but yours should be completely done. I also have the outside labels going around with all 12 colors of our standard color wheel. Blue, blue, purple, purple, red, red, orange, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, green, and then right on back to blue. So that's all done. We also have gone through and numbered our sections 1 through 4, and we've kept those numbers consistent as we go across. So as you can see, our backgrounds are all labeled 1. Our organic shape, I kind of think it looks like a weird elephant, are all number 2s. Our arrows, or our half arrows, that's what I think of them as, is number 3. And then our weird pointy shape, organic / pointy shape, are all going to be number 4s. So we've kept that consistent, and now it's time to move on to the next step. And what we're going to do, as you can see down here, we have kind of equivalencies for what these numbers are going to be. So number 1 is always going to be your hue. Number 2 is your hue plus black. So number 3 is your hue plus white. Number 4 is your complement. And we're going to discuss what those things mean right now. But basically, we're going to replace these numbers with painting directions for when you get your paint out and you start to add color to your color wheel, which is going to be the last step in the unit. So over here on the left, we have some kind of definitions for you. First of all, when we're talking hue, we're talking a pure hue. That refers to whatever color is on the outside of this color wheel, whatever we've labeled. These are all hues, right? So in this example, over here on the left, our hue is red. You could do the same thing with purple, with orange, with yellow, right? Blue, green, right? Blue, purple, whatever. You can do all that. But our example over here is of red. So when you take a pure hue that hasn't been tampered with, so the original color, like red, and you add white to it, you get what's called a tint, all right? Yeah, so anytime you add white to a color, you're going to get that tint, and that is going to be what we have down here. So as you can see, that is a tint. There you go. And yeah, so that's thing number 1 we need to know. Skipping down to the bottom, we don't need to worry about tone, but we can discuss it. So a pure hue like red plus black is going to give you a shade of black. So as you can see, plus white gives you kind of a pink color, plus black gives you kind of a burgundy or like a dark red. So there you go. Nope, that's wrong. We'll fix it in post. Probably not. There you go. All right, so think of it when you're in the shade, things are darker. That's how I think of it. And then tint is just the other one, plus white. So yeah, there we go. Tints and shades. That's what we have over here. And we're going to kind of do some of that over here. We're going to translate that. But moving on, these are kind of what the comparison between hues, tints, and shades. Again, we don't have to worry about tone. Tone is when you add gray to a color, but that's not going to come up in our color wheel. Just some background knowledge for you. So as you can see up here, we have all the hues, right? So these are all the kind of colors that we already have on our color wheel. But again, our example is red. You can add varying amounts of white to a color to make it, a different level of tint. As you can see, you start with red, and the more white you add, the lighter your color gets. It's almost like a palish color over here. Same can be said for shade. You start with red, and then the more black that you add, you're going to eventually get all the way to the darkest red, which could also be called black, right? So these are kind of the scales of tints and shades, and also tones there at the bottom. that you can see. This is kind of how you make all the different colors that you might imagine, other than just these hues up here at the top, because there are different variations of each color depending on how much white or black or even gray that you add to a color. And that's what we're going to be experimenting with moving forward in the color wheel project. This is kind of how these colors fit together on the color wheel, just to give you kind of some context. You got hues on the outside rings, tints meaning hues plus white on that second from the outside ring. Tones, gray we're not really talking about, but that inner circle is going to be what shades look like. So any color plus black. So you can see you got, kind of the muted colors here in the center, and the most vibrant colors being on the outside as well. So I just wanted to show you that relationship. Last thing we need to talk about is a complement. So as you can see, number 4 is going to be our complementary colors. Complementary colors are always in pairs, and that is always the opposite. Spelled it right, maybe. So complementary color pairings, you can see, are located across the color wheel. That's what the arrows are here for. So if you start with orange, the complement of orange is going to be blue, right? Because it's all the way across. The complement of purple is going to be yellow. The complement of red is going to be green. Usually you get some kind of startling contrast when you put complementary colors next to each other. They're also, generally speaking, kind of the color of sports teams. So if you think of the Lakers, think of the Bears, Illini, whatever. I'm sure there's a team that has red and green somewhere, or just Christmas colors, whatever. That is kind of, if that helps you remember complementary colors, there you go. But the key for us is, due to the way that the colors are organized on the color wheel, complementary colors are located directly across the color wheel from each other. Okay. So how does that apply to our actual color wheel? Well, let's find out. So we're going to start with red, just because that's what we've been doing. I realize this is backwards, the writing is, so just bear with me, please. So we'll start with red. Number 1, as we can see on our screen, is the original hue, and for us that means just regular old red. So what we're going to do is take that one out of there, and we're just going to write red. Boom. Again, it's backwards, I apologize. Next, we'll move on to number 2, as we can see on our screen. Number 2 is going to be that hue, in our case red plus black. That's going to give us a shade. So I'm going to go ahead and erase number 2. And I'm just going to write it out. Red plus black. Good. Done. Moving on to number 3, our hue plus white. So our hue is red because we're still on the red slice. So that's going to be red plus white. It's going to give us kind of a pink, but we're going to write it out like a direction. So when you're mixing up these colors, you're going to want kind of, you don't want to write down pink, or you don't want to write down tint, right? Because you need to know how to mix these colors. So what you're going to read this and go to your color palette and be like, ah, yes, red plus white. Perfect. I can do that. But it's going to be difficult if you just write down shade or tint or complement, because you're going to have to figure that out in the moment. So we're going to just give ourselves as much help as we can right now. Now, number 4, this pointy shape, we have to figure out the complement of red. And remember, in order to do that, we need to locate that directly across on our color wheel. So here, maybe you can see all of it at once. I don't know. Red is up here. Boom. Green is down here. They're directly across on the color wheel. Also, maybe we just know that from, our color wheel that we can see over here on the screen. So red and green, those two are complements. So if this is the red section, this section is going to be just green, green, just regular green. We are not mixing red and green. We're just going to put the color green right here. So you're going to have a big old section of red, and then you're going to have one little tiny section of green over there. And you do this for the entire color wheel. So the same thing for orange, for example, over here. Number 1 is going to be your hue, so we can just write orange. Number 2 is going to be our shade, so orange plus black. Number 3, I think I did that right. Yep. 3 is going to be our tint, so we can say orange plus white. And then last but not least, number 4, which is our complement, and as we can see on the screen, either over here or we can see on our color wheel, blue is directly across the color wheel, is furthest from orange, so we write down blue over here. You can just go around your entire color wheel and do that. You would also do it for your tertiary colors, like the red-orange. So instead of 1, you write red-orange, right? Red-orange plus black goes in the 2. Red-orange plus white goes in the 3. And then the opposite of red-orange, which is also a tertiary color, is going to be blue-green, which is over here. All right. So yeah, we're going to go around the entire color wheel, label each and every section. It takes a little bit of time, but try to keep your focus. Try to make sure that you can label everything correctly. It's going to help you out a lot in the long run. We're going to get that labeling done. And once that labeling is done, it's time for paint, the moment we've all been waiting for. All right. And that's it for my demo. Does anyone have any